Hi guys, it's Molly with Soul School Spiritual Guidance and Healing. I am so very glad to be here with you guys today. Thank you so much for being here with me. Today is a Monday. Monday is ruled by the moon. And so my intention for today is to get you guys an emotional alchemy reading, okay? So the moon has a lot to do with our emotions, okay? Our emotions, I'm being called to mention here. Our emotions are a way of our subconscious mind communicating with us, okay? The subconscious mind does not do logical linguistic statements, okay? The subconscious mind works on images, patterns, feelings, right? That's sort of its language, all right? So my goal today is to tap into the collective subconscious and see what's there. Emotionally speaking, what is it in our energy bodies that can be transmuted at this time? All right. So I already have a couple cards on the table. So I have an idea of where we're going with this. I've just been called to get something out of this spellcasting oracle cards. And they're getting a very, very, very good shuffle. So thank you guys once again for being here. What do we have? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and we've got passion here, which is talking to one of the other cards on the table. So that's something that we're going to follow up with in just one moment. But the card from the spell casting oracle deck that just came out, I love this, you guys. This is transformation. And I love this particular butterfly because we're all familiar, those of us who are on the path of ascension, awakening, healing, whatever you want to call it, we're very, very, very familiar with the metaphor of the caterpillar goes into the cocoon and it doesn't just transform into a butterfly. That caterpillar essentially deconstructs itself before rebuilding itself into a new being altogether. All right. So it really follows with some of the message that we've had recently, okay, about coming out of a period of transformation and preparing ourselves mentally, emotionally to begin the process of building again, to begin a whole new life cycle as a butterfly, right? The reason why I love this butterfly, this new version of ourselves is these dots all over it. This just to me, I don't know. I almost want to call these like portals. All right. This to me is simply a symbol of our multidimensionality. Okay. I also really, really feel that timeline healing is coming up in this image as well. And what I mean by timeline healing is, okay, one at a time. All right. So I do let's deliver the message that was starting to come in before the reading. There's a pain that needs healed, right? And I feel like what Spirit wants to talk about is it's almost like you're trying to heal like the version of you that exists right now, but that's not the version of you that experienced the pain, the loss, the heartache, the rejection, okay? So the reason all these little portals are important is it represents to me that you're somebody who's capable of timeline healing. And timeline healing simply means creating a scene visually or however else you create those in your mind, in which you travel essentially through a wormhole, like just a little tiny one, back to a past version of yourself, and you're able to converse with that past version of yourself. You're able to be there for them. You're able to listen to what they have to say that maybe nobody listened to before. Maybe you didn't even hear it before, right? But I feel like that's very, very, very important with the other cards that we have on the table. So let's go ahead and they're color coded. I love you guys. Okay, so the Revelations Tarot is where I pulled these first two cards. I was going in for one card from this deck and two came out. And so let's talk about what those are in the transformation that they represent. The first card that came out of the Revelations Tarot is the Page of Swords. Now, what I really like about this deck is, as you can see, there's one image that gives us both the upright and the reversed, okay? So it's like a combined image. And that's like this on all of the cards, okay? So you'll see when we move to our next one. These came out kind of sideways, which meant that Spirit was asking me to discuss them not just as their upright meanings, but as their reverse meanings as well. What we're doing is we're trying to turn these cards upright. So let's look at the Page of Swords reverse. This is a child that is afraid to speak. This is what's on the other end of that wormhole that needs healed, okay? So it's almost like you're holding your present self accountable. Like, why am I not healed from this? Why am I not over this? Why am I still having these feelings about these instances or these whatever, you know, what is it in your memory? These events, right, that need to be healed. That's not right here with you now. That's another version of yourself that needs that healing. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and take a moment to explain how I do that, because I think there are some people that are like, what the heck are you even talking about, Molly? So in timeline healing, all right, it can be very helpful to set up a scene of your own creation. And when I say a scene, if you have aphantasia, right? Then me talking about visualization is not going to help you at all. If you have aphantasia, you can go into this sort of liminal state and do the same kind of work that I'm doing visually through narration, okay? Just narrating the event, all right? So when I do timeline healing, I have a very, I don't know, it's unique. I don't know what other people's schema look like when they go into their own subconscious mind. But I've created a location. All right. And the way that it works when I go there to do my timeline healing, I drop into a boat. All right. I've got a little crew. I don't steer myself there. I don't know if that's significant at all. Okay. So in this boat, I enter a space where it's essentially just like a series of hills. Okay. The water runs sort of like through and between these hills. On each hill, there's a tree, and under each tree, there is an unhealed version of my past self. Right? So I wrote into this space, and I'm essentially navigating around this orchard, and I listen for who is crying out to me, and I go to that past version of myself. Maybe it's the 7-year-old Molly that was bullied in school. Maybe it was a younger Molly whose parents weren't listening at the time, right? So you have to essentially like duplicate yourself. You're going to be to use at the same time. You are the you that has the wisdom, that has the perspective that you carry at this time. And you will go to and visit that past version of yourself. The goal is to love them, hold space for them, hear what it is that they have to say. Really, really see and acknowledge the pain that they went through. And that's timeline healing, okay? Because when you get done, you can say, hey, I'm so sorry that this was the best that we can do at the time that you went through this pain. Please understand you were doing the best you can do. This is me talking to that past version of myself, okay? Your pain is valid. I hear you. I hold space for it. And now that we've gotten that out of the way, do you want to come with me forward on this journey? Okay, so that's integration of our past selves. That's the benefit of timeline healing, that we don't have all these fragmented selves everywhere. Okay, and what causes that is essentially we reject that past version of ourselves, or we don't see it for what it is. I hope this makes sense to you guys, because it's a practice that I've been carrying out for several years now. And so it's easy to forget what it's like to do that for the first time. All right. So when I talk about timeline healing, when I talk about there being these portals, it's within the intuition, in the mind, in the subconscious, in the liminal state. Okay. These portals, these wormholes sort of can take you back to visit the child or younger version of yourself that is still afraid to speak up. Okay? All right. I feel like for some reason there was just like, I could feel you guys understanding that, okay? And being able to place, you know what? There was that one time when I was young and XYZ happened, and I'm still holding on to that pain. Because that pain, whatever it was, whatever that trauma was, taught us not to speak up, okay? So what happens if this child goes unhealed? This past version of ourselves. We grow into an adult who's very guarded, okay? This is the King of Wands, and you can see that it came out just like this to show me that there's a link between this child and this adult, just as there is between this child and this adult, all right? So the collective that this message is for, that's the beautiful thing about timeline healing, okay? You go back and you turn that child into this child, you come back into the present as if that's the child that's been with you all along, okay? I just saw 11:11. That's the power of timeline healing. It's crazy, you guys, the amount of just like healing that I've been able to accomplish through this method, all right? So what happens if this child doesn't get healed and we remain afraid to speak up for ourselves and speak out for ourselves, okay? We end up in a very, very guarded energy. But we also end up not really being able to trust the things around us. That's what the feeling that I'm getting about being surrounded by these women wearing masks, right? This person is very guarded. You can see they're holding their arm over their heart chakra. And we don't even see their other arm. Let's talk. Yeah. Okay. So this is somebody who, okay. All right. Okay. No is a complete sentence. No is a powerful boundary. All right. So if we don't learn that skill, because we maybe grew up in an environment where it was not encouraged in us, we were not allowed to develop that skill of speaking boundaries, then what happens is we end up building them all around ourselves. These silent boundaries that are meant to keep us safe, but really keep us very guarded from the people around us, from the world around us. All right? So the power of handing this child a dagger, because the dagger represents the words, right? No, you don't give a knife to a child. It's a metaphor, right? But that also might be a key to understanding why were those people in my life not allowing me to speak up, okay? Because there's something about your truth that was dangerous, either to them or they perceived it as dangerous to you, and they took that knife out of your hand. They're like, that child is going to hurt themselves with that knife, okay? The knife, the sword, it's just a metaphor for a truth that you attempted to speak that was deemed dangerous to either yourself or the people around you, okay? So what can you do now in the process of timeline healing? Go down that wormhole, okay? Create yourself a space. It can be an open field. It can be the basement you played in as a child. It can be a therapist's office. It can be a coffee shop. It can be whatever it is that you imagine, okay? That like grove where the past versions of myself just hang out under trees waiting for me to come heal them. Like that, I just invented that, right? Whatever makes sense to you. Create that space in your mind and trust it is real. And you can go there and get real work done, okay? All right? So this is who we're going to go visit. This child that was not allowed to speak, was not allowed to bear their truth. And what can you, present self, you do about it? Travel to them. Hear them. Because their truth has not changed. Their truth is still the truth. Their truth is still the truth. It's okay to speak up. You get to speak up. You're allowed to speak up now. And I see this a lot in there's a younger generation. Okay, I am a mother. I'm a grandmother, you guys. If you're one of my previous followers and you've been back, that's one of the most amazing things that's taken place in my life. I'm a grandmother now. But I have a son who's in his mid-20s, okay? And I'm not saying he's the one that does this, but I see a lot of it in the younger generation because they weren't taught otherwise, okay? And I see it in young girls. Oh, young girls, speak up. Speak your boundaries. Stop trying to be nice all the time when you're in danger. Okay? Do you guys, I hope it's kind of making sense. I hope things are all coming together now. You were taught not to speak up. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I share that. I tried to deliver a message last week. The video did not video, so I just did a little short one that I put on YouTube. And so I'll make sure to upload that today so you guys can get that message, okay? Because the message that came through was that we need to unlearn the narrative that to be small is to be safe. This is somebody who was taught that as a child. To be quiet is to be safe, right? And since that tool of using your voice to speak your boundaries was taken away from you, you've built up so many other tools to keep yourself safe. But it equates to a very closed off energy body. All right? So, can you meet? Can you visit that past version of yourself? Give them the space to use their voice and teach them that this is okay, that we can carry this forward with us. You don't have to, give them back the knife. Say, I can trust you with this now, child. Okay? Because what happens when you convince that child self that it's okay, that you have permission to speak your boundaries, you're not going to hurt somebody with your truth. And if they're hurt by it, they're grown too. Let them deal with it. Okay? So when we learn, not you right now is not the person that needs to learn that it's okay to speak up. That child back there on your timeline, they're stuck there. Bring them back here with you. Okay? Once you do that, you find yourself able to embody a much more powerful stance because you're not blocking everything off, kind of like jumping whenever something moves in the distance, right? Because you have the power to speak. I went off on a tangent. This is something that I see with young women and with young people. Like, oh my God, this person is totally trampling a boundary right now. But they don't know what to do about it, right? Step one, speak the boundary. Say no, thank you. Say you're making me uncomfortable, right? I see it in relationships a lot too. I'm so mad that this person is acting this way and not acting that way. Have you spoken that? Have you spoken that? Because there's a lot of us who are taught not to. Okay? This is tremendous. Giving yourself permission. Oh my gosh, you're right. Okay, so giving yourself permission to speak your boundaries and to say how you feel about things. You can't control what other people are going to do with that, but you sure as heck have the right to say, this hurt my feelings. And to have them not gaslight you out of that, okay? So the reminder that Spirit brought me in, the part like one of the little girls sitting under those trees in that grove, is, it happened a lot when I was in elementary school. Oh, I was the target of so much bullying. And I remember I would go to the principal's office and I would just be crying. And the number one thing that needed to be accomplished before I was allowed to go back in that classroom is I had to stop crying. Nobody ever said shit to those other kids about the way they were treating me. But the message that was reinforced over and over and over again is nobody wants to see you cry. Nobody wants to be inconvenienced by your hurt feelings. That was the message that my child self received. Okay? So is there a place in your life today where you're still acting from that wound? Okay? And look at him saying the thing, saying the weird thing, saying the get your hands off of me. You're making me uncomfortable. I won't come around here anymore if you continue doing that. Because that's the key with boundaries. Boundaries are not about changing other people's behavior. Boundary is saying, look, if your behavior continues, here's the behavior you'll expect from me. Okay? So, why is that? Okay. This dragon represents something that under the current state with the unhealed past child self that wasn't allowed to speak up, this dragon is representing, is it ego? Okay. It's ego. Okay. That's fine. I'm okay with that. That's what the dragon represents often when it comes to like traditional and like ancient Western literature. All right. So it's almost like the unhealed selves. Ego is like right up on them all the time, always looking over their shoulder. Okay. Almost like, how dare they speak to me like that? How dare they act like that towards me? Well, did you tell them not to? Did you tell them not to? Because when you take back power of your voice, it's almost like your ego is we're just not so close up. And the ego, by the way, I'm talking about that dragon. See how this scene, the dragon's like right there. And in this scene, we've zoomed out a little bit, right? We can learn to work alongside our ego because we're not all wrapped up in it. Okay? All right. So, and then passion came out. Remember I told you these were matching? Okay? So, transformation of this wound that we have probably carried with us since childhood. Those match. And then these. So it's like a before and after, you guys. That's what transmutation is. Okay? And do you see how they're both like the arm raised? Because look, in this one, we don't even see that guy's arm. In this one, we don't even see the kid's other arm. Right? Once they're upright, you can see both of their arms. Okay? You can see both of their arms. And this one, they're outstretched. Okay? So the arms are representing our impact on the world around us. Okay? Their arms are tools. And they are energetic tools. So it's almost like keeping yourself quiet is like cutting off an arm. You have one less arm to do things with. Allowing yourself to use your voice, you got both your arms back. I just watched The Fugitive. Like, it's like a classic movie that I've never seen, but if you've ever seen The Fugitive, you know why having one arm is like a reference to that, okay? So, this is a very closed off energy. Nobody wants to hear my voice. I'm not allowed to use my voice. When you heal that, hello world, listen to everything I have to say. I can move around this space. I can create. I can extend my energy out into the world. Okay? Because that's what she's doing. She's dancing. This is your ability to allow your passion out of you. Okay? I feel like Bashar, if you guys listen to Bashar is talking about following your highest passion for it, just like as far as it goes, without any attachment to where it's going to end up. All right? This is really, really beautiful. Can I get, yes, the Rose Oracle is the final deck that wanted to speak up today. Hey, if you guys are digging it, leave a little like, maybe subscribe, drop me a comment, let me know what's going on in your life. Brothers of the Rose. Sacred masculine, honor, protection, support. For some of you guys, This is an invitation to look at the balance between your own inner masculine and inner feminine. Okay. Because boundaries, protection, each of us might have like a dominant energy that we carry with us as far as masculine or feminine. I'm not talking about body parts. I'm talking about energy, you guys. Okay? But each of us carries both an inner masculine and an inner feminine. If you don't like talking about it in a genderized ways, think about as energy, as the polarity of energy, as positive and negative. One is an outward moving force. One is an inward moving force. Okay? This is an invitation for you to look at the relationship between your own inner feminine and inner masculine. Because if you're a feminine who has been through a wound that has you not trusting the masculines around you, chances are you're also not trusting your own inner masculine, right? Same, flip it. If you're a masculine who has a wound around, like probably a mother wound, or like a wound around female energies, then you're probably not allowing that feminine energy to really thrive within, okay? So what is the ideal balance between these two aspects of self, okay? You don't, if you are feminine, you don't need a man to protect you. You have your own inner masculine, okay? Can you trust your own inner masculine and then allow yourself to step into that space to provide boundaries and protection around yourself? And a big part of this is speaking the boundaries. Speaking it and then acting it out. I will not be treated in this way. And then walking away from the situations where you're treated in that way. Okay? So in some ways, and that's, okay, we'll talk about that. A lot of us as young women were programmed to believe that we can't get ourselves out of trouble. We need a man to do that. Guess what, baby? You got one. You got one. You got an inner masculine. Okay? So allowing your own inner masculine to step into a protective space and balancing against that, against the like soft, feminine, receptive self. Because we've talked about this, you're an empath and you go out into the world and you're just soaking up all this chaos. You can't live like that. You've got to have boundaries around you. Okay? And that's where the inner masculine comes in. All right? So when you find yourself walking into a situation and thinking, you know what? This is a situation where I don't feel protected. I don't feel like I have anybody coming in to save me or help me or guard me. That's what your voice is for. Okay? That's when you're being invited to use your voice to create boundaries around you. All right? I feel like we want one more. So calling in the divine masculine within yourself. Because a lot of us, that's a karmic lesson you came here to learn in a very particular way. Why is that the whole deck? I'm losing it. We've come here and lived out certain experiences in which the masculines in our life had failed us. And the purpose of that experience was to come to terms with the fact that we've got our own inner masculine in here. Open, say yes, trust the seasons, the sun, joy, life force, success, vitality, play. Passion and play. Because the sun is a very, very masculine energy. All right? All of these cards are very, very, very masculine. We have open, say yes, expand through the extremes, trust life. Okay? And then finally, trust the seasons, embracing change, cycles of life, transition, and growth. All right? So I'll let you guys unpack those on your own. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I love you all, and I'll see you again soon.